Hi everyone, I'm Dr.Animaction. Welcome to the second half of my Animated 80s UK edition, where I'll be taking a look at everything released on the telly across the pond between 1986 and 1989. As a reminder, all children's programming is fair game on this list rather than just the traditional animation like in my US series. Also, this video is primarily focused on things that originated in the UK, so if you don't see a show you guys got over there from another country, it's probably on that country's list, if I've done it yet. And again, I'll be grouping them by year rather than categorizing them, as I didn't experience any of these shows firsthand and don't really have that depth of insight. A couple last things before we jump in, but if you all want me to continue the UK series into the 90s, then let me know, and I'll put that up as an option on the Patreon poll. Also, if you want me to take a look at the animated 80s in film for the UK, then let me know that too. Spoiler alert, there's almost none of them to cover. There are enough to maybe do a European animated movies video though, so if that sounds good, let me know. I'm happy to try to get to all the ideas I've got eventually, so I'll add them to my list if there's any interest. Lastly, my tune of the week on Instagram is Police Academy, because I was feeling something funny, so check that out too. And if you like all things animated, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. On that note, let's see what was up in the latter half of the 80s for the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
So to recap last video, there were only 39 shows or so that I covered for the first half of the decade. Well, half plus one I guess, as that video was actually 6 years. It seems as though almost everything that I talked about during that period was done in a short video format, with very few shows reaching the 30-minute mark like ours in America. There was also a pretty low percentage of traditional animation to other forms, specifically stop motion, amongst those 39 series. So is that how the rest of the decade's going to go as well, or will things shift over these last 4 years? Time to find out as we take a look at 1986 through 1989. Let's go ahead and jump right into 1986 to see what's what. This year we saw 7 new series come to UK Airways, and we'll start with one that's already a bit different. The Blunders was a traditionally animated series that aired for 30 5-minute episodes between April and June on this year's ITV. It's a comedy series about a family of clumsy people and the trouble that causes them. It sounds pretty clever, and all 7 of the characters in the show, consisting of 4 humans and 3 pets, were all voiced by the same person, comedian Frankie Howard. Also, the animation has a decidedly Popeye feel to it, with some Mike Judge mixed in, so that's interesting. Next up is a new Super Marionation series produced by Gary Anderson of Thunderbirds fame. Dick Spanner P.I. was a future noir series starring a robot detective in a city that kind of reminds me of that one from the movie Dark City. Do you guys remember that? It honestly looks pretty cool, but it's actually a comedy series that thrived on sight gags and puns, which is kind of odd. This one ran for 22 6-minute episodes on Channel 4. Jimbo and the Jet Set is the next series that came to UK TVs this year, and a lot of us Americans may get a decidedly JJ the Jet Plane feel from it, though this one was traditionally animated. However, like that show, this one follows a group of anthropomorphic vehicles that live at an airport. But unlike JJ, Jimbo seems to usually cause some sort of disturbance that gets him the attention of the airport's air traffic controller. The series received 25 episodes on BBC One, running around 5 minutes each. Penny's House was an interesting mix of traditional animation and hand-drawn still frames, and it was way less creepy than the last doll-based show we covered in this series. Running for a total of 13 5-minute episodes, this one was based on a series of children's books by Peter Furman and followed the lives of a couple of living dolls and the kids that played with them. It was shown as a part of the BBC's Seesaw programming block, which is where quite a few other series from the last video like King Rollo and Pigeon Street got their start as well. The first series from 1986 to get more than a handful of episodes was another one done in traditional animation though. The Raggy Dolls managed to run on ITV that lasted from this year until 1994, coming in at a total of 112 11-minute episodes. It's basically a mix of Toy Story using the Isle of Misfit Toys toys from the Rankin Bass Rudolph, as it follows the adventures of a group of reject toys who come to life in their factory when no one's around. And next is another relatively long series, coming in 86 5-minute episodes. The Telebugs was an ITV series that told the adventures of a trio of super robots built to protect the world from various villains. It was another traditionally animated series, making those the primary format for the year. But the last series from '86, though, only gets the year a half point toward winning that format war, as it's a mix of traditional and claymation animation. The Trapdoor was about the misadventures of a group of castle-dwelling monsters, and was another comedy, though with some darker horror-themed set dressings. This one ran on ITV for 40 5-minute-long episodes. So we're already starting to see a shift, with quite a few actual cartoons in that year. They're still running fairly short, though, so let's see if 1987 gives us anything different. Starting this year out is The Adventures of Spot, another traditional cartoon based on a series of children's picture books by Eric Hall. This was actually the first of 3 Spot series that ran in the UK between 1987 and 2000, each of which consisted of 13 5-minute episodes and aired on the BBC. Also that year came the longest-running series of the video so far, racking up 296 episodes by the time it ended in 1995. All Sorts is also the first series in this video that clocked in at nearly full length, 20 minutes. The series seems to be something similar to a lot of our PBS shows of the time, as it mixed live-action, puppetry, and some traditional animation into an educational comedy series. That makes sense though, I guess, as this one also ran on ITV, which is apparently the UK version of public broadcasting. Next up came Creepy Crawlies, not to be confused with the 90s US cartoon Creepy Crawlers. That one was a traditional cartoon, whereas this one is a stop-motion animation about the daily lives of a group of garden bugs. The series ran in 10-minute episodes, managing 52 of them on ITV. Also, the show had a spider character who would actually have probably eaten all the others. Also, one of the characters is named Ladybird, and Wiki lists the character as being of the species Ladybird. Is that what you guys call ladybugs over there? Weird. Anyway, I thought we were on a roll with traditional animation, but between Creepy Crawlies and the next show, which is the claymation Edward and Friends, it seems we may not have moved on from those yet. This one was actually a toy-based series. Kind of. It was a 28-episode series on BBC Two consisting of 5-minute shorts about an elephant and his friends in a world based on a theme of Lego sets. The theme was called Fabuland and apparently was made to be a transition state between Duplo and regular Lego, consisting of 102 total sets. It sounds like it was a pretty big franchise for Lego too, with a ton of other types of merchandise, kind of like a proto-Ninjago model. Well, last video we talked about the series Postman Pat, and this year brought the series Fireman Sam, which isn't the last job-name combo series we'll be covering. This one started out as a Welsh series on S4C a couple of weeks before appearing on BBC One. Like Postman Pat, this one was also stop-motion animation, and it also ran for quite a long time, topping out at 265 10-minute episodes over its run, which is still going and has only experienced a 3-year hiatus since its initial release. This series took place in the Welsh village of Pontypandy, again not to be confused with the movie Pontypool, and followed a fireman helping his community and teaching fire safety. Moving on, we have the series The Pondles, a traditionally animated one about a community of green Smurf-like creatures that ran on ITV, clocking in at 13 11-minute episodes. This one not only has Smurf-looking characters, but sounds like it pretty much follows a Smurfy setup too. Except that instead of a forest, the Pondles live under a hedge in someone's backyard. Other than that, though, the population had a single blonde female member, a wise old leader, lived in mushrooms. I imagine a lot of this sounds familiar, so we'll keep going with our next series. The Shoe People. This one was a cartoon about, well, anthropomorphic shoes. The shoes in the series are all ones that couldn't be fixed, and so were tossed into the back room of the shoemaker's shop, which is apparently where the secret portal to the magical Shoe Town is as well. So yeah, living shoes in a town full of living shoes with no feet. And this concept got 52 10-minute episodes that aired not just on children's ITV and S4C in Wales, but in 62 countries around the world, including here in the US as part of Eureka's Castle on Nick Jr. Plus, it was the first Western cartoon to air in the former Soviet Union after it opened its borders to the world. Did I mention it was about a town full of living shoes? Anyway, the last series that 1987 brought was the cartoon Wimpole Village. It's basically a slice-of-life series set in a small countryside village where everyone is named after their job. And that's about it. Lasted for 42 5-minute episodes on ITV. Surprisingly, the traditional animation ended up making a comeback after I thought for sure its dominance was just a 1986 fluke. We even got a nearly full-size series last year. 88 starts by holding up the traditional animation swing, but doesn't do much to increase run times. Barney, Who's This Dog, Not This Dinosaur, that coincidentally enough also aired in '88, ran for 13 5-minute episodes on BBC One. The series is about a dog named Barney and a group of his dog friends on a quest to become stars. If any of you Americans watching recognize it, the series also ran here on Cartoon Network as part of Small World. Charlie Chalk was a stop-motion series about a clown, apologies to any of you suffering from coulrophobia, that ends up on the island of Merrytwit, where the coconuts apparently try to kill you, and decides to stay there. These episodes drive runtimes up a little bit, clocking in at 15 minutes each. The series got 13 of them on BBC One. The next one on my list is a US-UK co-production between Nickelodeon and the UK companies Thames Television and Cosgrove Hall Films, Count Duckula. This one ran the full normal, well, for us at least, 22 minutes over 65 episodes on ITV. If you want to hear more about it, maybe watch my 1988 Animated 80s US video, which you can find right up there. Oh, look, here's the other job-name show I was talking about earlier. PC Pinkerton was a little different from The Postman and the Fireman, as it was a traditionally animated cartoon following the exploits of a PC, which I guess may be an abbreviation of Police Cop? I'm just kidding. I know it means police constable. I've seen Hot Fuzz, after all. I thought you guys called them bobbies, though, or is that just a myth Americans believe? Whatever the case, the series ran for 13 5-minute episodes on BBC One and brought something new as the main character had a habit of breaking the fourth wall. Side note, Pinkerton is also the name of what may be my favorite Weezer album, so there's that too. And yes, I know the name of the album came from Madame Butterfly rather than here, but I didn't really have any other US connections to make for the show. Moving on with the year, we have The Ratties, a cartoon about a rat family that acts like humans living in the walls of a human house. It's another series of shorts that got 26 episodes on ITV. This is one I want to check out, as it was narrated by comedian Spike Milligan, who was a member of the Monty Python-inspired comedy group The Goons, and who apparently ad-libbed a lot of the series. I'm sure that makes it pretty good for a goofy laugh. We continue through the year with Stop It and Tidy Up, an animated series about some microbes from the world of do as you're told, where every creature is named after things parents say. I'll be honest, outside looking in, this sounded like a weird form of brainwashing, but after reading more about the series, it sounds like the names and themes have almost nothing at all to do with anything, at all. It seems as though the show just wanders aimlessly and doesn't even bother teaching any lessons or imparting any wisdom, and given those initial expectations, I respect that. It only ran for 13 5-minute episodes on BBC One, though. Now, while we got a Sylvanian Families cartoon in the US the previous year, the UK got a stop-motion version of the series this year. Stories of the Sylvanian Families was again based on the Japanese toy line and told the same sorts of slice-of-life stories that the cartoon did here. It did add a few more merchandising opportunities, or families, I guess they called them. Unlike the cartoon, though, it only got 4 episodes running at 10 minutes each. But I couldn't find on what network, so if one of you can fill in that gap, if you happen to know, that'd be great. The last series this year brought was one more cartoon called Tube Mice. It's about a society of mice that live in the tube, which is Londoner for subway. In this animated world, the train cars all had mouse-sized doors in them, and the mice would travel around London living human analogous lives. This one ran for 26 episodes on ITV, each clocking in at 5 minutes. And that brings us to the last year of the decade. 1989 brought 9 new series with it, starting with the slapstick comedy cartoon Bangers and Mash. The series was about a pair of chimps, the eponymous Bangers and Mash, making messes and causing chaos for the people around them. It sounds like it had some solid anime tropes going, including the female friend character that hits them when she gets annoyed, the strict teacher, and a wicked witch for some reason. It was another 5-minute series that ran for 25 episodes on ITV. Huxley Pig was twice as long, hitting the 10-minute per episode mark. It followed the daydreams of the title character as he imagined living an exciting and adventurous life as various characters. This stop-motion series ran for 26 episodes on Central TV, which was the network's first appearance on these lists, even though it had been around since 1982. Paddington Bear is another series in this video that aired concurrently in the US and UK, so check out the 1989 US video for details on that one. It got 13 20-minute episodes on ITV. Then there was the Harold and the Purple Crayon-ish series Penny Crayon, or is it Crayon? Penny Crayon. Whatever. Which is a cartoon about a girl named Penny who uses her magic crayons to bring to life drawings that cause chaos around her school. The 12 episodes came in at 10 minutes each and originally aired on BBC One. It first appeared as part of the children's BBC series Playbus, or Playdays if you didn't see it until after December 1989, but was spun off into its own series rather than being picked up to be part of the rotation there. Poddington Peas was another cartoon, again taking us back to 5-minute shorts, that lasted 13 episodes on BBC One. This one was yet another Smurfish show about anthropomorphic peas, named after their primary character traits. Instead of a Gargamel character, though, the antagonists in this series were other peas, in the form of Black-Eyed Pea and Cree Pea. Maybe Black-Eyed Pea was upset that he was named after a bean. Also, both of the villain peas are a darker shade of green, which is weird because I find that the darker peas are usually fresher and sweeter. Oh well. The next series on our list was the stop-motion show Tugs, about the daily lives of a community of sentient ships. It came from the original producers of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, which is fitting as it's pretty much Thomas on water. It lasted for 13 20-minute-ish episodes on ITV, and as it's pretty much, like I mentioned, Thomas, there's not much else to say about this one. Bringing us close to the end of the list, the UK got Belle and Sebastian this year as well, which was a Japanese series from 1981, so you can watch my 1981 Japan edition video for more information on it. It aired for 52 episodes on children's BBC. Our next to last series for the decade was the stop-motion program Windfalls, which was a nature-focused edutainment series. The characters that the show was animated with, though, were all created from actual leaves, plants, and flowers, with added animated appendages and facial features. The series got 26 5-minute episodes on ITV. So with that, we get our last program in the UK for this decade, and it means that we end on a really high note. Wallace and Gromit was a stop-motion show about a wacky inventor and his super-intelligent anthropomorphic beagle and their hijinks. In fairness, this wasn't really an animated series, as what came out this year was more of an animated short film, but it did eventually result in an animated series, and is absolutely one of the best-known animated properties to come out of the UK, ever. When I saw that it came out this year, I just couldn't leave it off the list. Hope you all don't mind indulging me there. But that's it. The entire decade of animated series of all types to premiere in the UK throughout the 80s. Between the two videos in this series, I covered right around 70 shows, covering all forms of animation and genres. Most of what we talked about in those 70s were series that ran in short formats, usually between 5 and 15 minutes, and it looked like the rare full-length shows that we did get were either imports or co-productions. So I guess for UK kids it must have been more about filling the spaces between other shows? Or maybe not. Maybe each show was a question of quality over quantity. Whatever the case, I look forward to those of you watching who grew up with these shows sharing your memories. Also, let me know if you'd like me to do anything more for UK-specific programming, and I'll see what I can put together in future videos. It's been fun and interesting putting these together and seeing what you all were watching compared to what I was back then. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode and the series. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you haven't already. Check in later this week for what will probably be the first episode of the animated 90s US series, followed by the first episode of animated 80s and film next weekend, assuming that's how the vote goes. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay tuned, as in cartoons. Later.